Perfect. Now we're synced. All right. So first question: who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Should I just introduce my name?
Yeah.
Who am
Anything you
I?
want? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I look at the camera or
Camera's fine. Or
looking at the
me.
camera?
Me
Look at
maybe.
you.
Looks
Okay.
kind of creepy if you're just staring at the camera.
It's kind of creepy looking at you.
Look wherever you want.
Yeah. My name's Tony Nordine. I'm a creative. I'm a skateboarder, and I'm a co-founder and the CEO of Blue Painting.
Awesome. On a daily basis, how do you stay motivated?
Good question. I don't. No, I'm just kidding. I usually spend a lot of time looking at like the future, just looking at like possibilities, and honestly, like it comes down to I'm a huge problem solver. I love problems and I love trying to solve them, and so really just looking at the challenge that we're up against, and that motivates me to get up. And I'm constantly like I'm very introspective, so like I'm constantly looking at what am I doing with my life, like what is my purpose, and I journal a lot. I try to just align with, make sure I'm doing my life's purpose. And there's been times where I feel like I fall off, and that's when I like really get into like journaling and like reflecting and making sure that what I'm doing each day is going in the right direction, because I don't want to go the wrong way.
Right.
I want to try to keep advancing forward. So usually that's kind of what motivates me, is just making sure that I'm going in the right direction with my life.
So, jumping into painting specifically, what's wrong with the painting industry?
What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
As a whole,
Yeah.
just as a whole, painting industry.
Structure, just the industry.
I would say the just like how fragmented it is, and how there isn't a lot of like standard in the industry. I know that they are, the Painters Contractors Association or whatever is coming up with some standards and stuff, but it's not well known. I think like the fact that there isn't mandatory licenses and stuff like that, like there is no like standard for painting, and so therefore there's a lot of different characters out there, and it's tough to navigate,
Yeah.
with so many different companies, so many different quality levels. So it's just tough to navigate.
Okay. Um, so then, this is more for what your line of work is. What are the biggest challenges associated with working with residential painting, as opposed to commercial, say?
uh Probably that there is, I mean, it's kind of the same, but like flipped. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of people, and everybody has a different set of expectations.
Mm.
So, when you go into somebody's house and you're trying to please them, we do it the same every single time, but everybody looks at it and sees something different because they have a different experience with painting. I think what makes painting specifically harder than like maybe other trades residentially would be the fact that like painting is something that a lot of people do themselves. So like they look at your paint job, and they compare it to what they know or what their past with painting, and so it's very tough to there's just a lot of different expectations out there. And in commercial, you're dealing with one person, larger jobs. You're not dealing with as many jobs throughout the year.
Mm.
So and there's usually one or two people in each job that you have to please, whereas we have a lot of smaller jobs, and in a given week there's 30 people that all have different expectations, and we have to please all of them. So I think that is like one of the main challenges. Also, I think the fact that like we're seasonal, very seasonal dependent, and that the moving from outside to inside and then inside to outside is just very tough.
Sure.
The seasonality of it, and throughout the year, like with the weather, having to navigate through like schedule conflicts with weathering and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Especially as it changes, I'm sure you have to like pivot.
There's a lot of pivoting. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So positive. What are the benefits of residential compared to commercial?
I think just, I mean, it's dealing with like seeing people happy at the end.
Yeah.
It's a different function to paint somebody's home than to paint a commercial property. Like the point of a commercial property is commerce, right?
Hmm.
So that it's really about the bottom line, dollars, like cheap, let's get it done. Um, on in residential, like you're painting where somebody lives. You're painting. Usually, it's their biggest asset. So you're in charge of beautifying something that they have invested a lot of money and time into, and being able to have gratifying results at the end and see a happy homeowner.
Hmm.
I think that's a huge benefit. Also, just like you get to meet a lot of different, very interesting people. Um, and because you're going into somebody's home, it's like there's a trust there that you get to develop relationships and ongoing relationships.
Yeah. It's more personal.
Very,
Yeah.
yeah, more personal.
Um. Okay. So there's like a lot of like gurus out there, people who are just like they're into like basically hustle porn. It's like it's all about don't sleep, don't eat, just work. Now you've like been in the sea. You're an entrepreneur, business owner. You're in it. How true is that sentiment?
Hustle,
Yeah.
just like hustle at all costs.
Yeah. How true is that? How much of it is a
I think
balance?
it's I
Yeah.
think it's bogus.
Yeah.
Well, so for me, like you watch it, like Gary V, you watch all these people, Grant Cardone, who are so obsessed with working, and I get it. Like I love working. I work a lot, a ton. But I think like to be pushing that as like a mainstream thing is it just damaging to people, because like for everybody works, has different work ethic. Like it I feel like what's more important is like longevity than like trying to get, like a lot of times people like think hustle, getting things, try to just pack as much as you can into every single day, sleep 5 hours and just work nonstop. And I think what that does is it burns you out quicker. And so like really looking at longevity, which means sleeping more, spending more time with your family, like taking time off. I think what I've found in my life, like time off is where most of the good stuff happens, where you
Mhm.
take time off and you reflect and you get ideas and you come up with better ways of doing things. Whereas if you're constantly working, then I feel like you lose sight of where you're going. And there's nothing wrong with like, because like I said, I work a ton. I work
Yeah.
so many hours in a week. But I think like pushing that as your brand, I don't think that helps anybody, because if somebody's watching me and they for some reason can't work that much, they might then feel like they can't have the life that they want because
Mhm.
they aren't able to work or don't have the same work ethic, or just maybe they can't find what they love enough to put that much work into it.
Yeah.
And I think I don't see how that benefits anybody. So I don't that's my take on it. I've tried the Gary V work as much as you possibly can, and it just doesn't turn out very well. And it's depressing.
Yeah.
And I think there, like I said, it's everybody has to find what works for them. But I think being more open about like looking inside yourself and seeing what you align with more so than anybody out
Mm.
there. So that's how I've thought about it, anyways.
Yeah. All right. So this is more business stuff, but what would you tell someone before they start a business? Or maybe I could phrase that better. What is the number one piece of advice you could give someone before they start a business, or what do you wish you would have known before you started a business?
Gosh, that's a good question. When you ask like what I would wish I known when I started a business, I mean it's funny because if I would have known how hard it was, I would have never started.
Mm,
Simple as that. Like I'm very naive. I jump into things quick
mm,
and I think they're way easier before like they call it what do they call it reality distortion field, like where
mm.
you're like it seems so easy so you jump into it and that's the only reason you can keep moving forward. So I don't it's hard to say what I would wish I would have known. I'm glad I was naive because otherwise I wouldn't. I mean the only thing I could say is like action, taking action, no plan. There's no need for a plan. Like you can plan after you've taken action.
Mm.
And I think it was something I came up with many business plans, 50, but tried to start 50 businesses and got no further than like planning.
Mm.
And then with painting, we were kind of forced into action where it was like we were working for another company that company was going to dissolve and we had no job, so it was like we had to do something, and so we just jumped in and we just like did exactly what we knew. um and all what I learned from that was just that action I could have taken that action on any one of those business plans that I had, and
Mm.
who knows if they would have succeeded or failed. But I think once you get the feeling of like doing something, providing value for somebody and having them pay you in return for it, I think that then you realize like how open the world of business is, and how the
Yeah.
fact that everything around us is built by humans, and so literally you can do anything.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can't do. So like I don't know. That's so all I would say is take action. And I don't know that I would have done anything differently when I first started. And I don't know that I would want to know anything from anybody because I don't want somebody to come along and say like, well, just know it's going to be hard, or just know you got to grind. You got to be ready to grind, like because I would have not wanted to do it. I didn't want to grind, And it's a lot harder than I ever would have thought it was going to be. And I'm not anywhere near as far as I thought I would be when I first started. And if I would have known that 7 years later I would only be where I am right now, I would have never I would have been like, I'm just getting a job. Like
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
reason to start a business.
It's almost like if you would have known, like if you thought you're going to be farther ahead than you are now. If you would have known that, you'd be even less far ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't even know that I would have been able to keep it up. I mean, I'm learning how to slow down and not go too fast because that's obviously like it causes a lot of issues going too fast, but I have a lot of ambition, so like I try to see past where we're at or where I think we can go, and I try to look further than that because that keeps I mean, you asked the motivation, like that's what keeps the motivation is like looking to the future and seeing things in my head that I want to come true, and knowing that yeah, there's a ton of work to get there, but like being able to just keep doing what I need to do, what's in front of me, because that future goal of where I want to be, and that future just keeps going. The goalpost just moves further. No matter where you're at, it's going to keep going. But I think keeping that is important. Cool.
Well, I think we did it.
Just don't make me look stupid.